order at, we'll call it 8. Note that all board members are present. Comments from public on agenda items. Rick?
Item number 5, ordinance enforcement. What's that regarding? Anything specific?
It's specifically regarding a letter that I wrote to Tina Herring and Mr. Harding with regard to ordinances with that regard to that property on Meridian Street.
Right. Number 12, tree service. Mike, tree
There's
service
several
complaints.
concerns that I'd like to address there,
Okay.
and I'll give you an opportunity to rebut at that
Okay.
time, if that's all right.
Sure.
How about number 10? 4th Street drainage, 53 bridge replacement?
Do you have a comment, Doris?
No, I'm just wondering, is that Highway 53? Are we talking about replacing the bridge? The bridge is
Well, I'll
there?
talk about what I found out.
Okay.
from Talking to state representatives at the county and
Okay,
regional level.
all right.
Excuse me. Okay, anything else this time? The lagoon project, I'll just briefly set the stage. We had a bid letting or opening on the 4th, a week ago yesterday, 10 o'clock. It was not an advertised meeting. No action was taken. 2 board members, myself and Mr. Anderson, were present. Then we had 5 firms that submitted bids for the project. With that, I think I'll turn it over to Mike.
You bet. Well, good evening. I do have, I know you kind of have it here.
Yeah, we have
packet there as well, but
Nice to have a clean copy.
so there are the.
Do you have any, enough to, or if not, what? Do you have that in your packet?
Yes.
I gave him this
Okay.
front. I didn't.
Yeah, we
give him
don't
that.
have the other part. What is?
Well, okay. You might be interested in that. You may not, but
It's similar information. Basically, those are the total of the 5 bids.
Let's see.
You can see Banker Brothers was substantially lower.
Which one is it?
At 703,000. On the back is the breakdown you have. That just shows the breakdown of the unit costs between the lowest bidder and the second low, Van Kirk and General Excavating. So I'm going to come back to that. I thought this time I'd kind of give you just an update. Again, this is kind of my tracking budget as you've seen throughout the
Those are the
project.
How much?
So just kind of review that briefly, but again, at the top is kind of all the funding sources with CDBG and USDA. So that's the top columns. Then below that are all the expenses, basically everything. The 2011 stuff, which is kind of the budgetary information that set the budget. And then the 2012 and 2014 project costs, basically everything shown in white is basically completed. The stuff remaining is highlighted in yellow with the Van Kirk bid put in there for the lagoon construction costs. There's some estimates in there for field testing. The lagoon has to be tested and the backfill has to be tested. There's some interim interest that is being paid, so there's kind of an allowance for that. Some bond counsel at the very end, USDA has that. And then, most of those right-of-way costs have already been incurred, plus there's a little, like, a couple $1,000 in there for future legal work. And then USDA, at the bottom there's this $30,000 contingency fund, and basically that's just a check. They make you have that as part of the funding. In this case, it's not all that relevant, but if all the numbers came up and you didn't have, at the bottom, now you have 48,000. If you didn't have a positive number, then they would have adjusted their loan amount to you guys. So basically this tells you that you are into the USDA grant. That $158,000 is at the top. That's the last dollars to be spent. You know, you're not technically into it yet, but you will be with the budgeted numbers. Basically, that's kind of where you're at. The USDA or the CDBG grant gets used first, then the USDA loan, then the USDA grant. So basically, with all the budgeted items at the bottom, you can see about that 48,000. If you add the 30,000 of the contingency fund, basically that means there's $78,000 remaining from what is put together for the funding,
Okay.
and that comes off that USDA grant. So you'd be $80,000 in there. That makes sense. I don't know if you have any questions about that. So basically tonight, make the recommendation to award the contract to Van Kirk Brothers for their $703,613.50. Pending USDA approval. And basically this kind of gets the award going to Van Kirk, and there's kind of a month of contracts and pre-construction meeting, those types of things. So,
Have they had any communication with you since our meeting last Wednesday? Van Kirk?
yep, we've sent some emails back and forth. We'll probably have a pre-con meeting in a couple weeks. I'll send out an email about that, but that will just kind of be the kickstart.
Is there any
for the
reason to
project.
think that they won't follow through?
No. They'll be fine. They do plenty of jobs for us.
Okay.
They're a good contractor.
That was gonna be my next question.
You know. So, but yeah, there's basically this kind of this month of paperwork and contracts, and then you know, they'll tell us at the pre-con meeting when they plan to start, and then there'll be basically 6 months of construction, roughly 5 to 6 months. Completion date is the end of December. So.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, for those of you who weren't here, the first bid that was open was the Van Kirk bid, and we were pretty tickled at that point, thinking that we were going to have several competitive bids.
Yeah.
The rest of them came in quite a bit over estimate. The comparison that Mike has drawn here is just with the next low bidder, General Excavating. That's pretty interesting if you look over the figures and see where they're higher and how much higher they are, and in some, even in a few instances, they're actually lower than that.
Yep. Yep.
But,
Yep. Good thing Van Kirk's truck didn't break down. When
Yeah.
It would have been open.
we would have probably not been asking for a motion tonight if we hadn't had the Van Kirk bid. So, does anybody want to make the motion to accept and approve the Van Kirk
Yeah, pending
Bid.
USDA approval.
pending USDA approval?
I'll make a motion to approve Ben Kirk proposal pending USDA approval.
Probably better have the amount in there, Marge.
Okay, yeah.
$703,613.50. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Donna? Any well, wait a second. We'll second it, I guess.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second. Now, is there any further discussion? We've been a long time getting this far.
Yeah.
It appears that, well, there's always a possibility there will be some snafus or change orders or whatever, but we do have a little latitude here
Right.
within the financial framework. Okay, if there's no other questions, discussion, I'll call the question. Mark? Yes. Marge?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay.
4 copies here. You can just sign them.
Do you need to take some with you, Mike?
I would take them all. Yes.
All right. I'll do that while I'm, and we'll look at the claims, treasurer's reports in a minute. One thing I did notice on there, Marge, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the fire department receipt for chairs and most of the Sure Bars bill are a push. That was the money, they ran the chairs through the village. Those are not the chairs that we authorized last month, which have been ordered. Is that correct?
Yeah, they sent a reimbursement check for them.
Excuse me?
I said they sent Donna a check. You got a check, right, Donna?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about,
Right.
yes.
But those are not the ones that we
No,
own.
no, they're not.
Good.
Is that you, Donna?
There you go, Michael.
I don't like that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
You bet, thank you. We'll be in touch.
All right.
Oh,
Anything you
oh, well,
need, email me or-
Yeah.
It's been a long haul.
If you guys ever have any concerns during construction, feel free to give me a call.
So, you think that the pre-construction meeting will be about a month down the road?
Uh,
How long do you think it'll take for USDA to act on it?
Oh, what happens from here is we send it to the contractor, and then they get all their insurance and stuff like that. And they sign it and they send it back, and then it's either sent to you, and then you guys sign it, and the village attorney looks at it, and then it goes to USDA last to sign. But the pre-construction meeting will happen
Before that
Yeah,
process is entirely complete?
probably in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, all right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. See ya.
Water repairs. We had a main break over in front of, I guess you could,
Or Jason Daniels.
yeah, where Jason Daniels used to live. About, what, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And, it was actually between the meter pit and the shut off and the main. And so,
Where's that at?
Hello?
I don't know.
Yeah.
any other questions?
What about the sewer repairs?
Oh, okay.
Can I call you back later?
February light and water.
Oh, yeah,
The splitter
the
box.
splitter box was.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Cleaned it out. I'm sure that's what it is because
Yeah, Alan told me.
Alan told me that he was gonna have that done, so.
But he was hoping to also get
They
Greg
work your truck
water
today?
down it too.
They work on your truck?
Excuse me?
He was hoping to get Greg to dump the fire down it too. He don't-
Yeah, he had Fairbury in
Yeah.
Flushing.
Marge, I assume that Mistaken Lumber Bill is just temporary
That's-
repairs of the windows
That's just that's that door. That's
and then the door that was insert that was fixed.
Yeah, I assume, I didn't look at that bill, I'm sure it's.
It's just what Jeremy picked up.
The lumber, the plywood
Yeah,
that I picked up.
and then the door.
Is that on there?
That's the window repairs.
With
I'm assuming.
Yeah, the glass.
hexaglass and installation, screen repair, was that the door?
And what?
The screen repair, picked up by Jim Durflinger?
Yes, I picked it up, but that's,
Oh,
Yeah, he
did
took
Jim
it out.
bring it in?
Jim brought
And
it
then
up.
3 pieces of wafer board, or
Yeah.
OSB. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Any other questions? Or
I'll move we accept claims treasurer's report and minutes.
is there a second?
Second.
Last chance for questions, discussion. Going once, okay. Jeremy?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Jim? Yeah. Marge?
Yes.
All yes. I just want to, this is kind of an example. But it's not probably the only time this has come up, you know. In fact, it will come up anytime that you have an ordinance infraction. That could be anybody whose property isn't cleaned up and is notified that they have a nuisance property. But the point is, as we have discussed on more than one occasion, in order to pursue it, we have to take legal action via our attorney at the county level, and the remedy is likely to be a fine less than what it costs us to pursue the complaint. Okay? So there's good reason not to be too aggressive. On the other hand, what do you do if somebody just plain flat ignores the ordinance? I wrote this letter, I'm going to read it, on April 14th, which is 2 months ago. I'm writing to inform you that residential occupancy of the 303 Meridian Street address under current circumstances is prohibited by Village of Alexandria ordinance. As was indicated to you by me in verbal conversation last fall, occupancy of a mobile home, trailer, or modular home meets village requirements only when it is supported by a block or brick foundation or set on a concrete pad. So those are the options. Now, we've got a lot of structures of that type, or maybe not a lot, several, that aren't on pads or foundations, but they predated that ordinance. An example of an acceptable pad can be seen on Taylor Street south of 6th. That's north of where Mrs. Durflinger lives. Another one is across the alley from me that was put in by Ottens because they moved a trailer in there for several summers running. If you plan to live in a trailer or modular at the above address, it must be in compliance with village ordinance within 45 days. That seemed like a reasonable expectation. Moreover, village ordinances require that any property occupied within the village must be connected by a private sewer line of prescribed size, not less than 4 inches in diameter, to the village sewer system. That's not new, dates to 1970. At present, it does not appear that that requirement is being met. Again, compliance must be achieved within 45 days. Now, in fairness to the people in question, they have made a good faith effort. They've given Mrs. Rutt money to have the sewer line opened, but the contractor's truck broke down. So I don't fault them for that. They did as much as they can do to meet that at this time. Failure to comply with the above noted requirements may result in the village pursuing legal action as prescribed by ordinance. Copies of the complete village ordinances with all applicable requirements for compliance may be obtained from the village clerk, Donna Rutt, during business hours on the first and third Saturday mornings of each month at the Alexandria Village Library. So, my point in bringing this up is that there can be no question of whether or not the persons have been properly informed. Right now, they would like to have water, but not only do we not have a sewer connection, we still don't have the prescribed foundation or slab. So that has been denied to them.
So they don't get water if they don't comply with the rest of the stuff, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
How can you hold water from
They can
them?
get an attorney.
They probably would, I guess. I mean, I
Or they
would.
can spend the money to comply with the ordinance. I'd spend the money to comply with the ordinance.
Well, as far as I know, that the sewer isn't closed
It is closed.
because the water runs freely
We don't know
down.
where it's going.
Well, it must be open because it's not closed. You know,
I
it
don't know what
must.
you're talking about.
Well, when they dumped all that water down into the toilet,
How
the
much
wa-
water was it? Several hundred gallons, I was told.
yeah, it was quite a bit.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't there when they did it.
But it
It's
didn't
just-
show up in the village sewer system.
Well, I don't know.
I do know because Mr.
It's not backing up into the house.
But it could be going to a septic tank. A
I
septic-
don't think there was one
Well,
there.
we don't know.
Could be going down the hill of the creek.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
Even if they spend the money, and I've told them this, if they spend the money to open that up, there's no guarantee that it's connected. I don't know that.
But it had to have been connected at one time when Calvin lived there.
Not necessarily. I talked to Calvin. All he did was Wally found a place to hook up to and they set her down the chute. He didn't know where it was going. He just went away. He didn't care. So,
Well, you know, it sounds kind of hard when you're denying them water.
it does.
You know, because they do need to bathe and they have grandkids over.
They've got water to do
It has to be open.
the concrete foundation. If they've got water to send, told me several hundred gallons to put down the sewer line, then you've got water for concrete.
Right.
So,
I thought concrete blocks were going to be okay.
that's what it says. That's what it says right here. Then they didn't want to do that. It's supported by a block or brick foundation or a concrete pad. It gives them a choice.
Right.
They've been told that numerous times in addition to the letter.
I was, someone mentioned something about skirting, that it couldn't be,
It can be skirted if it's on a slab.
okay.
Just
And if it's not on a slab,
Then it has to have a foundation.
Slide up there.
Those are your choices.
it was put in way before.
The whole idea of this is, you may
But the
recall,
ordinance
we had a
don't-
trailer that had was skirted with straw bales. And that wasn't very well received. And so at that time, I wasn't even on the board. That's when the ordinance was passed to require something more from a property owner than straw bales or a makeshift skirt.
right.
So, you know, these things could easily have been learned before they made the investment in the property by talking to the clerk and getting the ordinances. But they didn't make that effort. Along that same line, but it's not, this isn't an ordinance last month. I think, I don't know, Jeremy raised the issue or somebody raised the issue of these portable buildings. So I called the county zoning commission and yes, technically, they're supposed to apply for a building permit. I said, well, what do you mean technically? Well, they're portable, but once they're put in place, excuse me, pardon me, they rarely move. Okay, I'll buy that. That's probably true, but so what does that mean? Well, they should submit the $25. Okay, so then the county's going to approve them. The zoning board's going to approve them, and they're going to take the $25. Okay, they're going to send it back to us and say, we recommend approval, even though these are all in the floodplain. But you can accept that if you want to, right? We've done that. Okay, so we can do that.
Over
But all of
there
the-
is the
there's-
floodplains?
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't know.
they are, trust me on that.
Mhm.
But even if they weren't, all of the onus comes back to the village. All of the dirty work comes back to the village, so to speak. If we don't approve them, we're the villains. If we do approve them, we've got the liability. We don't even get the $25, and he says, well, it'll be added to the tax rolls. I know from talking to one of the property owners, it's on a homestead exemption, there will be no taxes on that. So we get nothing, zero, except aggravation. So those people were all notified by the clerk in the mailing that went out with their water bill to the effect that they were asked to comply within 30 days. Are we going to pursue that? I don't know why. If they want to put the thing there, I don't know why anybody would want to contest that. It would cost us money to do so, and there's absolutely nothing but to be gained but liability. If they put it there and they don't have the village approval, they're doing it at their risk. Even, I remember, I don't know how, Rick, you remind me, several years ago you applied for a permit to build a garage. And it's been quite a few years.
Addition to the garage, right.
And we approved it. You signed off that the village wasn't liable.
We even got a building permit.
Right, right, exactly. And that's what we're talking about here.
But we had to fight with FEMA because of the floodplain, that we would have to have this thing built 2.5 feet above, or 2 feet above the floodplain.
I don't think it was FEMA.
Special,
No,
well, it was.
Well, we ran into FEMA. They put their little 2 cents in.
Okay.
A foot above floodplain level, and I had to have draining space in the floor or on the side walls, you know, X amount of draining space per square foot.
I remember that.
Yeah,
The truth is that even if you'd have gone ahead and built it, I'm not sure you can sign away your rights. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm not sure that waiver that you signed was worth a pinch of poop as far as the village is concerned. You could still say, well, why did they let me build it? They should have known better.
Right,
I'm not saying that would happen, I'm just saying that potential exists.
right.
So all of this, there's liability, there's financial. We're going to be looking at something here later where we're asked again to approve something that adds liability as far as the village is concerned. You're going to be looking at this all the time in terms of making decisions. I don't see any need, I don't want to pursue this matter with Herring and Harding, but I don't intend to give them water until they're in compliance. So, if someone has a problem with that, now's the time to say so.
So how soon are they gonna be able to come there and do that thing with the sewer? I mean, you said
I
everything,
believe she said 30 days.
30 days from
But that's not holdup. That's not the holdup right now. The holdup is there's no foundation or slab. You know, I mean, it is a holdup, but it's not the only holdup. Okay, the next item is community building and library vandalism. We also had vandalism on the meter on the backside of the, I guess that is the library meter. And then the door and windows up at the
Yeah.
community building.
Steve, on top of that, the dryer vent has been meshed.
Something on the
Yeah,
fire
on the
hall.
fire hall. Yeah, I did pick up one.
Did you
for-
turn that in also? I think all of this has been
Yeah.
turned into the insurance company.
Well, that I just picked up. That, I've got it
Okay.
separate for Donna, so she can, of course, we have to gather all this cost up yet, don't we, Steve? For 'em?
Right,
Okay.
right. What we have to decide
Yeah.
is,
And the county attorney, or not the county attorney, but the law enforcement wants the total damage figure too when we're done.
okay. I do know, while we're on that, well, since you mentioned law enforcement, that there is a fairly active investigation. I don't know where that stands because I was gone for
Yeah.
a few days, but
Mhm.
they are pursuing it.
Yeah, they are.
And I have some additional information since I talked to him last, but I haven't had a chance to talk to him since I got back yesterday.
I guess I didn't, what kind of damage was done here? I mean, I guess I don't know.
The Saturday before Memorial Day, Saturday night before Memorial Day, so somebody threw rocks through the old bank door. Well, I don't know how that was damaged. That might have been hit with a club or something, but the rocks through the windows up at the community building, the door to one entrance was smashed. The meter on the back side of this building was hit with something fairly substantial because that glass is
Probably
really
a
thick.
mallet or something.
And then apparently a vent on the fire hall.
Okay, that was the meter outside, is that what was
Yes,
damaged?
electrical.
Oh, okay.
That's
So-
really heavy glass too.
We have to authorize an electrician, I guess, to do the meter because Norris isn't going to do it.
No.
We have to have it done privately.
Yeah, we have to put a new meter loop in.
And then we also have to decide how we want to fix or what we want to pursue in terms of the window there at the community building. When I talked to the insurance company, they really encouraged using, they asked me who do we normally use, and I said, well, we either, for glass, we oftentimes get Fairbury glass, or we would use Dakin lumber. Would probably, and I said, they really encouraged us to use the people that we normally use for that sort of thing, rather than go seeking other,
Places.
right, I don't know why.
Well, my guess, Steve, that due to the severity of the damage there to that window, we're probably going to have to put an entire new window in
Right,
it.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it's not gonna be replacing
No.
glass, it's gonna be an entire
It
window.
was kind of held together with
Yeah.
chewing gum and
Yeah, you can't.
caulk anyway,
Yeah.
and it was old.
Yeah.
So, but to put another window per se in there,
It's gonna be costly.
well, and plus which fact, it doesn't, it's been an invitation before, we've had that rock before,
Mm-hmm.
since I've lived here. Because the last time they did it, I fixed the window and replaced the panes.
Question?
Steve, I kind of remember not too many years ago, we
Yes.
had Dakin go for, or Fairbury go for
I'm thinking we ought to
everything.
maybe consider one of these plastic block windows, like this only.
How
plastic.
important is that window? I mean, where is the location of that window?
It's high, but
On the south side.
the importance is it's the only source of natural light
Like we need.
because it's on the south side. There's nothing comes from the east.
Mhm.
There's several windows on the north, but they offer limited light because of the fact that they're on the north side. There's nothing on the.
Yeah.
So how about
Excuse me.
plexiglass?
Is
Can you
that in
use
the white building?
plexiglass?
No, in the gym.
The brick building.
I was just gonna say, if
It's
there
the south
wasn't, you
window
know,
up
could have
high.
bricked it up.
If you drive by there, you're going up the street, you'll see it's covered right now with particle board or something of that type. But it's a big window. It's probably, well, it was a multi-pane window, probably
Yeah.
6 by,
Oh, what was
Five.
that, Jeremy?
It's 7 wide,
Yeah.
okay.
Quite a
probably
bit.
close to 7 high.
Yeah. 'cause
Almost 2 sheets of
Yeah, almost,
OSB.
Yeah.
almost
7
2 full
feet?
sheets.
Yeah.
Not
It's a
quite
big
long.
Wow.
Almost two. And-
Some of that probably could be,
Well, some of it's frame, I mean.
Yeah.
and some of it could, wouldn't necessarily have to be that big.
So on this kind of, those glass panels, those are plastic,
Right.
and then Mason puts them in, is that how that works, or?
No, well, the one I bought.
We were there today. looking
Oh, were
at
you?
it.
You ordered the size, it's
Ordered
free
size.
frame.
That's
Where
right
did you
there.
order
It's
those
$100.
at?
I ordered, the
Wow.
ones I got were
That
from
brick
Dakin
right
Lumber,
That's
Okay,
pretty.
Okay,
but they were much smaller.
yeah, I know.
They had one there for
I
$100.
suppose we could go
That
two
size.
options in pricing, price that. and
Wow.
price,
Or you could split it, you could
Wasn't that
Yeah.
run something down the middle of it and
It was
and make it
inside,
2 windows.
so It's
That would
close.
save it.
Well, it was
No.
two
It was close.
It was
Could
two
have been that
separate.
size right
Well,
there.
the top and bottom.
Yeah.
No,
there
it was
two
bigger than
separate
that.
ones.
Bigger than that one?
Yeah, it was bigger than
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
one.
there were.
Pretty
yeah,
close to that.
It was pretty
Well, the
close to
reason,
that size there.
the main reason here is to have it on here is to tell you that we've got to, get an electrician
Mhm.
and,
Can I address that electrician?
Sure,
a little
yeah,
bit, Steve?
absolutely.
Yeah. We have 3-phase out here, and the reason we have to replace the meter loop is because this meter is obsolete, so we have to put a new meter loop in. And we don't have to. If there's nothing here that needs a 3-phase, it would be cheaper to go back to 2-phase, is when Norris, called. How they discovered is they have to read this meter by hand. They have to go up. They can't stand and have their machine read it.
because it's old.
It's old, yes. But, there's gonna be some costs there with that too.
Why, do you have a
I
electrician that?
I did, yeah, I
in
called
mind?
one, and I'm gonna call tonight when I go back home. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and call Plymouth Electric tomorrow.
All right,
Okay?
that would be my choice.
Okay. I will call them tomorrow then,
Uh,
if that's all right.
Anybody have any thoughts on the window? The door is fixed, that was minor.
Mhm.
But the window is not. Jeremy?
I'd
any
get a
thoughts?
get a price on doing the block like you're talking, and
And
then
then-
get a price on a window and
Get
see
some-
what's,
Get something from,
Yeah, don't you think?
both Dakin and maybe
Yeah.
Lyman.
yeah.
I think that
Also-
would be,
Cause I don't know what's cheaper
I have
or
no
what's
idea.
better.
Well, this is the opportunity to, I mean, we're gonna have a $500 deductible regardless.
Is that per building, Steve, or how does that work? Do you know?
That wouldn't surprise
I think
me.
it's per building.
Per building, but we could
It might
we
be,
could get into
it
the.
might be per incident though, too. Of course, I don't know how you prove that it was the same time. I didn't talk to him about the meter because I didn't know about the meter at the time.
I called them down there after Norris called that day, so they do know, and I told them to call you, Steve, if they had any questions. Deal insurance,
Right.
so they do
Yeah, I stopped in
know.
there on the other, but like I say, when I stopped there, I didn't know about the meter.
Yeah.
But I'll
Well,
get a hold of Fairbury Glass and also.
Okay,
uh,
well,
Well- The other thing, and I didn't have this on the agenda, but because I found out about it after the agenda, I'd given, or gone over the agenda with Mrs. Rutt, but as well as over the last two rains, that hole that's been in front of the
yeah,
post office
yeah, that developed
has,
after that.
opened up considerably.
Mm-hmm,
And I put a little barrier there to keep somebody from stepping in it or hopefully not driving in it. But that needs to be fixed now in standard. Basically, I don't think it might not be that big a deal. They're gonna, it's carrying water from the north.
mm-hmm. And it goes
And it
underground.
goes under there and then it goes over across the street, I think.
Stays
Gotta
under-
get in there and see what happens.
Yeah, it stays underground all the way down to the.
But
leak.
the idea would be to preserve the drainage and cover the hole. And it's gonna take some concrete work. You might be able
Hey.
to slip a
Piece in
a
there.
piece of,
Yep, you got the same idea I do.
what?
Pipe. Gutter. Gutter.
No.
No, you're not, well, what do you think?
Culvert, thank you.
Yeah, culvert's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Put
in
some in
there
there
and
and
then-
then
and
concrete
then cover
over it. Because I think it's nice and open, it's just that deteriorated. People driving over it over the years. You know, over by the church there, that's kind of the way they fixed that, the culvert in there and then concrete over it.
It's been
It's
getting
only been
bigger.
that way for a year.
Not like it is now.
No, it's
No,
pretty well
it's
broke out
big now.
If you walked over, you could see 3 foot down. It's been that way for
But
a
it
year.
wasn't that big. It's a lot bigger than it was.
I noticed it bigger than it was, but
Well, one time I thought,
it's taken this length of time to notice it. You walk in and out of there every day.
well, I knew it was there. But so did everybody else.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Did you notice it?
Hell yes, I did.
Did it ever say anything?
I told the clerk in the post office she should notify you.
Oh, okay, well, she didn't.
Kayleen decided to move.
This next item, do you want to, is really a question. Do you want to set up a meeting with the Rural Fire District Board? This has come up to discuss various matters of interest. Send a couple people to a meeting with the, to talk about working cooperatively instead of working, not working together at all. Or do you think that's a waste of time, or?
They have a budget meeting in July. I did talk to,
Do you know the date?
I'll have to get it from them. I've already actually tentatively, if the board approves, I've tentatively put us on the agenda.
You did?
Yeah, with a couple
Okay.
board members.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
And I'm willing to go. If somebody else would like to come along.
I'll go if nobody else wants to. Jim, you wanna go?
Yeah, he'll go.
Well, we can't have three.
No,
We only need two.
How about you?
you're gonna go, Steve.
We'll get the date.
I will get the
If-
date.
I'll go unless I got some reason that I can't go.
Okay,
But you'll have to give me the
I will get you a
time
date.
and the
yeah.
place.
I'll.
And whether or not
and I-
whether or not they'll put us on the agenda.
Yeah, they will, but I will need to know specifically what we would like to talk about.
Well,
Steve.
what
Yeah,
we'd like,
well,
what I'd like
that's
to
what I
talk about
kinda
is
told him, yeah.
how do we get some cooperation
That's what
in what we need here in the village in the way of,
yeah, that's kind of what I told them, that we'd like to discuss that issue.
because, what do we have to do to get their cooperation?
Yeah.
And are there other items that we need to bring up?
Well, I think, Steve, it'd be well, we discussed this, like, we've had an agreement here with them, to help us pay ambulance insurance, and they do. And so what has happened? Why are you guys, I'd like to know why you guys are not cooperating with us, is what I basically, it's not happening anymore. I don't know what's happened. Because they were working with us in that fact, weren't they, Jim? Helping us out and paying that? Except that we can't do anything with the other, it's been set up,
Until
so.
about 3 or 4 years ago.
And I have done a little talking to, like, Belvedere has an arrangement where they're 60/40 for expenses. And I think Carlton has that same kind of setup. But I don't know how we'd come out on the good or the bad end of things. Because I sometimes think we're on the bad end of it
Shouldn't
now,
have to pay anybody else.
as far as cost.
And
And figures, Donna, that's kind of, well, I'd like some figures, since it's, if you would pull them together for me.
Well, I'm sure we'll,
I
have
mean,
a
I
good
can see here
exchange.
where they are.
that meeting. The next
No.
item is kind of information. After that was raised, question was raised last month, I contacted the state superintendent, or whatever his title is, in Hebron, and he didn't have too much to offer. I asked him, do you have any idea when this project is coming down the pike? Well, not really. So he gave me, or he had a guy, his superior in Grand Island called me, and I talked to him, and he said, well, what he could tell me was that the highway work would follow the bridge replacements.
Okay.
And I said, is that going to happen this year? No, he says, I don't see that happening. He said, the whole idea is to give you an opportunity to put some money aside. And I said, well, I'm not too keen on this. It's your water, you're draining the highway, and then you're telling, us that we have to provide someplace for your water to go. Well, that's an architect-engineer deal. And I said, yeah, I'm sure it is. So he was going to get the architect-engineer to call me. That hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But I really think,
So is
but I
that,
also said, well, the idea of having this done ahead of time doesn't make any sense.
match?
Right, because they're talking about the underground portion being further north
Mhm.
than what it is now. And the water that comes down on the west side of the highway actually goes under the highway, and it doesn't go, never has gone west. I wondered how it could go west because there's no drop or a place for it to go. It goes under the highway, ties into that, and it used to go then down that ditch,
Down across it, isn't it?
and it was an open ditch, and there were a couple of culverts under driveways, and it went east. And you can see the end of one of the culverts if you go further, about 200 feet east. But I think I'd sit on that, and like I said, he said, if the bridges are gonna be done before the highway,
Yeah.
highway funds could be, or road funds could be used for that, but I don't see where it's really our responsibility. And in fact, I said, and the guy in Hebron even agreed with me when I said, I don't see any need for them at all. Just let the water run south, which is what it's doing now.
Wouldn't that be nice if that could be made? That should be engineered just to go down that, shouldn't it? Down those sides.
Well, it does.
It's already going there.
Yeah, that's where it goes. There's no place for it to go east. It might fill up that hole, but that's it. They opened up apparently a year ago, they opened it up underneath the highway,
Oh, they
but
did?
there's no place for it to go.
They opened up on which side?
They went from the west to the east.
And got it open?
That's what they
Really?
said. I don't remember seeing
I
that.
didn't remember.
So,
Full of sand, I don't know how they could have.
I didn't hear anything that sounded like this was gonna happen real soon. Anyway, certainly not this year. And I do remember them saying that this would all be done in 1 year. If you went to the meetings that they held at the community building, they said they'd start in the spring and it'd be done by the following, before winter.
So, nothing now, so probably spring next year they'll be open up there.
What,
Maybe.
well, we currently have $37,000 in street funds. I've tried several times to get a hold of Alan Hine to see when he was gonna finish his work, and so far I haven't got it. Haven't even got it. He must be out of the country. He hasn't even returned my calls. But there's money there for that.
If we have to drain it that way,
Right. But you're talking 200 feet.
that's a lot of,
Why would you have to 200 feet if you're gonna drain it to the east side of the highway?
You wouldn't if you keep it on the highway, but if they want it to go,
Why can't you get a hold of the railroad and have them drill, horizontal drilling, just bore a hole right underneath the track?
that's not where they want the water to go. That's not where it's designed to go. That's why I want to talk to the architect engineer. That's where it should go. I agree. Just let it go down the street.
Like Daddy.
It's where it's going there now.
yeah, it's
That's
original
where it's
down
going
there.
now, it's just that if you got a whole horizontal boring, you can just drill a culvert right through underneath the track and it goes dump right in that
Well, I
little
think
creek.
there's a drain there already, isn't there?
But, yeah, further east.
Mhm.
They just wouldn't like us to make it go east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
They didn't tell
But
us
in
we
order to
had
do
to.
that, you'd have to have an open ditch for 200 feet with a couple culverts for driveways, or you gotta have 200 feet of culvert,
They just
which is
weren't-
not going to work because that's gonna Unless you can have somebody clean that out every so.
They were just hoping that we would do
Bring
that.
it that way.
Because they didn't like it going down their highway down the east side of the
But that could be made in their engineering to go
Right.
down there.
Right.
Absolutely.
I never did really.
I think I was just in favor
I
of
don't
it.
think we can ever.
Don't know.
I even asked,
Make it
I said, before you do anything,
No
you need to visit with the village.
Mm.
There's about 200 feet.
I never was in favor of digging a ditch. Not really.
I don't think we can. There's a light pole in
All
the
right.
road for starters.
Building permit application from J.D. Lowe. I guess we actually got two, one from J.D. Lowe and one from Jeremy Van Weston. We'll take Jeremy's first. Jeremy's is asking for an okay on a carport that would lie east and west. Picture here would lie, I guess this way, right?
Right.
Behind the fence. Behind the fence, which
Behind
is
it, right.
gated there.
That's all right to me.
And
Needs,
it's, approval is recommended.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion second to approve the carport application. Mr. Van Weston, any discussion? Okay, you gonna abstain?
Yes, sir.
Mark?
Yes.
Mark, Jim?
Yeah.
I'll vote yes. Jeremy abstains. The other application is for, from J.D. Lowe, is for a privacy fence. His property is the one north across the street from Roger Van Weston.
Roger Walls.
Or, excuse me, Roger Wall, thank you. There's a map or a drawing of sorts, and the letter indicates Mr. Lowe owns lots 13, 14, 15 in Block 12 of Alexandria. These are located on the south end of the business district next to the Legion Hall. Mr. Lowe would like to fence in the area with a privacy fence 7 foot tall. This is allowed in this area and the setbacks are 0 from the lot lines. Mr. Lowe has obtained in writing a statement from the Legion as to the property line there. I am concerned with a privacy fence being constructed on an intersection because of limitation of sight at the intersection. However, it is allowed by exception in the regulations. If the fence were chain link, I would feel much better in approving it. This is currently an unregulated section, unregulated intersection. That means there's no traffic control signs. And with this fence, you may have to consider regulating the intersection. Also, I think some consideration, well, that's his opinion. As the rules are stated, I must recommend approval of the application.
Which one?
Isn't it that place that they're moving all the stuff out of, that
They've
corner?
been cleaning it up. I
Yeah,
think.
and they're
Yeah.
supposed to be moving it.
Oh, JD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was his ex-wife, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was living there. I don't know if anybody's living there now.
No.
I
I
thought-
don't know what he wants to, why he wants to enclose it. There's no, enclose it, there's no,
Well, he told me that he wants to store, people will pay him rent to store campers there. I suppose there is concrete there, isn't there?
no, some of it anyway.
Some of it have concrete.
That might even, okay. In the application, there really isn't any specificity as to the type of fence that I could see. It doesn't say what
Well, I
the,
think it's gonna be wood if it's
Well,
privacy.
Well, no, well, Jeremy and I thought the same thing, only wood guarantees privacy. But that's, if that was his purpose, that's not necessarily true. That'd be more of a security issue.
Okay. So what do you think it would be? I was.
Well, he may be thinking wood, I'm just saying, we don't know, because it's not on there.
Well,
And I wouldn't have any problem at all with a chain link
That
fence,
way
if
you'd be
that's
able
what
to
he
see
wants to
through a little
do.
bit too.
I'm a little, I don't want the village to have to put up signs.
No,
I don't see any reason why we need to go to the expense of, and worry of, the traffic issues.
I wonder about, of course, you know, Roger and Gwen don't have a lot of say on what happens, but I wonder what their feelings are with this. Do you think we could,
I mean, there isn't that much traffic around there anyways, is there?
Anybody coming from the highway to the,
yeah,
Main Street on the.
Right.
On whatever street that is.
Well, if he's gonna open up a business
Second
there,
Street.
doesn't he have to get a permission from you guys first? Or to have a business?
If he doesn't have if he doesn't have approval, again, it's probably gonna be, the liability is gonna be on him if there's an accident, you know. I'd like to look, before we'd approve it, if he could have it so that the vision wasn't impaired, which, like Mrs. Rutt said, if he had that angled across there on the corner, where you could pull up and still see, I don't guess I'd have any problem with it.
You
He's gonna
don't.
come clear out to the sidewalk, and you gotta get out into the street before you can tell who's coming from the north.
hey, Steve, you see this right
You
here?
don't cross the
I
street
think he
there.
plans on bringing that back behind that.
Well, it'd be nice if he had a drawing of where he intended the
He's got
fence to
some
be.
posts there now.
But it ain't in his drawing.
Maybe we
No.
need some more information.
That's,
Do you think we could
The
come back
issue
and
is
have
the
another
drawing.
meeting on that? And have him explain fully to everybody?
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd
I
just
think
ask
so.
for,
I'd feel
ask for a
better
little
about
it.
clarification of what he,
I would feel totally
what,
better if he
what
would
type
really-
he's gonna have at once,
No
and,
specifics here.
Mhm.
and maybe a more specific drawing of where he intends to put the fence.
I think that would be
You
reasonable.
don't cross the street there.
I don't think it'd be anything unreasonable
Going in
about
that alley.
that. A little more information.
Okay.
I thought he told me he stopped after he'd been over to Hebron, and then he must put those posts. I thought he said it was gonna be wood.
Yeah.
But I just like to,
Okay, if he's gonna put the fence up there, which is, you know, this is his business, that's a floodplain. Is he gonna have to have it up so far? Is there specifications over that, you know?
Well, anytime you're gonna build anything in the floodplain, you know, that was the point that I was making before. is
And
that
actually-
do we want to endorse that?
And according to the ordinances of Nebraska, in the floodplains, you are to have
But
any
according to
boat.
Mr. Fry, there's
I-
nothing in the regulations to prohibit it.
a fence.
No,
See,
what I'm saying
let 'em build
is your boats, your motorhomes, not motorhomes, but your.
Well, I don't know who the hell would want to store one in a floodplain, but.
You're supposed to have them tied down, so that if there was a flood, they wouldn't go float in and beat somebody's house up and run over somebody. We checked into that too. So,
That seems like kind of a stretch to me, but that's none of my business, I guess. I
I've
really
lived
don't.
here
Water
15
gets real
years,
close up there.
and I ain't never seen the water up
No,
anywhere
I mean-
near that intersection,
No.
except in the park down there.
No, I
And that
don't.
was when it filled up the whole valley, out east, west of town.
No, I've never seen it that high. I guess it has been.
Yeah.
When they had that 12-inch,
Couldn't have been very deep.
when they had that 12 inches of rain
I'd say
over the
that's
dash.
higher than that.
I don't think
Yeah, I
that's,
am
to
too.
me, that's not the issue. The issue is your vision impaired coming from the east? You can't say there's not traffic on that street because there is traffic on it.
There is traffic on it. You don't go across the street, you turn north. You turn up Main Street.
Right. That's true. But if you don't see,
So you're gonna go right anyhow.
but there is an alley across this
Yeah.
too that you could go to on.
well,
Yeah, I
if
used to
you
go
don't
to
see,
When I owned that house down there, but
you know, it wouldn't have to be that far back. I just like to see where
I
he
think
plans to put it.
you need to meet with him.
Let's see if he'll
Yeah, I think that's,
clear up some of this.
in all
for us.
fairness,
Yeah.
the way can explain it to the
We're
entire
not turning
board.
down, we'll just say we need additional
Right.
information.
And it would probably look very nice there. But I'll put it in.
He may decide not to go
Nice.
through it, who knows? Okay, Laughing House Tree Service complaints. Rick, I've had several people approach me about your pushing and or pulling trees around the streets and where have you. And the specific complaint is that you don't pick up the stuff that's left behind.
I pick up a majority of it. I'm not picking
I'm
up
just
all.
telling you what the complaint
That's
is.
fine.
Okay. And there have been several people mention it to me.
Of course.
Of course, okay. I'm gonna let it go at that.
We'll
I
be more
think-
conscientious about it.
Excuse me?
I said we will be.
Well, it might be something to think about. Okay? The second thing is, I'm wondering why you need to access your lot via the village well house property.
I don't have to. I just do.
Okay, could you avoid that? That's one of the complaints is that stuff happened to be picked up there before he mows.
No, no. Anytime that we've went in through there, we've picked up our own. Now you got stuff that falls from your own trees there, but we pick up what we bring through there. And I've gone back and walked the streets and picked up anything that was left.
Okay.
So I mean, if he has to pick up anything after these big storms and stuff, you guys have had branches that fell
Oh,
down
yeah,
over
I'm
there.
sure branches fall down, I'm not saying that.
But
That's
no, we do try because it is village property, and there was because we had an area right there that we had to
Was the
push that
reason-
stuff
The
to.
reason that you can't access it from the west end of the property?
I do access my property. from the
Yeah,
west
we
end.
do access
Well,
it from
why can't you go to
both.
the trees from there? Why does it have to go across the village property?
It doesn't
Well,
always.
it doesn't always, but
It doesn't always.
I stage a lot of my material there, and I bring it back in the back there where I can cut. It's just easier for me. It's no real big issue. When the trees are being dragged through there too, generally the leaves are just kind of sweeping it along too. So I mean, you know, if they want to whine and cry, everybody wants to whine and cry about it. That's fine.
Well, we
you
have a
know.
lot
We'll
of that.
we'll
Yeah, well, I mean, it's everybody. All you have to do is mention my name around here, and somebody's got a case of the red ass.
they don't even have to know you. They don't know us, and they still.
That's okay.
But that's fine.
Well, so that, you could avoid that, it'd just be a little bit of inconvenience on your part, is that correct?
It's not really that big of an inconvenience either. You know,
He'll
it's-
avoid it.
Why don't you use the other side if it's,
Okay, I'll just block that side off completely.
that'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody else is going in there, are they?
Well, you know, you get a lot of your boys, you know, Peterson's Plumbing and all these, and you know, a lot of your contractors, they back in there and they play around too, so, you know, it's,
Well, they go on the village property. I'm talking about on your property. Nobody is accessing your property from,
it's not wise.
gotcha. All right, and finally, I've got a complaint. This hasn't got anything to do with the tree service, but it is you. We spent a couple $1,000 last year net to fix that ditch so it would drain on the half a block south of you, put
Right.
in new culverts.
Right.
Is there some reason why you want to?
Yeah, why till it? I till it, what it does, like I've told you before, it kills the weeds, and it also evaporates, any standing water there evaporates faster, therefore we don't have as many
It
mosquitoes.
doesn't, Rick.
It does.
not.
It does.
I'm looking at it.
I'm looking at a damn thing every day. I'm out there every
After this
day.
last rain, there was water standing there, but before you dissed that, it was not standing there. What the fact that you dissed it allowed the water to push the silt up and then we've got pooling again.
How close do you look at that ditch, Dagger?
I looked at it.
If you look at
From the
the
truck.
alley right behind my house, you can see all that dirt and crap is coming from that building across the street from me. It blows all the way down the west side of my house, that church, okay? Anyway, and then
Yes,
it blows all the way
okay,
past
all
my
right.
house, and it comes out underneath the alley in the new culvert, all that dirt and crap, okay? And all it's doing is loading up out there. I till the stuff, it makes the weeds go away, it dries it up.
If you've got to get on that, why couldn't you accomplish the same thing with a mower?
You can't mow it.
If you find some, if you would get the Daniels to mow the mess and knock the weeds down, that would be one thing, but they wouldn't do it when they were there. Now, I don't know who owns the property, whether it's Daniels or whether it's Chad, I don't know, but he's
I'll
not
tell you
mowing it.
what, you stay off of it, and I'll have the village guy mow it.
It's fine.
If you can assure that the water's not going to stand.
I'm not telling you that I'm giving
I'm just
you
telling you if you can
assurance, I'm
ensure
telling
that
you
the
to
water
stay
will
off.
not stand and there will not be a bunch of mosquitoes back there, then I'll stop. Otherwise, I'm going to
There's more water
continue.
standing there now than
No,
there
there's
was
not.
before.
No, there's not.
I checked it after the last two-inch rains. I agree that there's stuff comes down from the church side,
We have
but we all deal with that.
we have water standing in our ditch, and we have a lot of debris that comes from
I'll
the
bet
rest of the
you've seen
town.
me digging ditches many times.
Every day, just about we see out there.
So
and
that's
but
something.
we have it come that when we have a big rain event, whatever's uphill from us comes down and it gets into our ditch, and we have pooling in our ditch.
Mine goes into my front yard.
That's because the person upstream from you, so to speak, doesn't take care of the trash.
Yeah.
But we all deal with that to some degree. I'm going to talk to the village guy about mowing it to keep the weeds down. I appreciate that. I'd appreciate it if you would keep the disc out of there and see if we can't get that to firm up. I think the water will flow better. I don't think you're accomplishing your goal. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bring it up.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Alan's not here. That pretty much takes care of mine. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Before you do that, I have a question. When are you gonna finish the sidewalk? Pick up the block of concrete that you dug out of the sidewalk?
Well, Alan promised to do that. I know he hasn't, but,
I mean, Jesus, it's been a year and better.
well, I'll try to get it done within the next 30 days. How's that sound?
Works for me.
That's a fair question. I'll see what I can do. If he can't do it, I'll do it. North of where your son lived there. I know where you're talking about.
Where you put the water meter in.
Right.
And you're gonna need some sand,
No,
blue sand, or whatever,
We've got
to
some fill.
bring it up to
We've got that.
where the water meter's gonna have to fill up down below it. Because it's settled that much. And
Okay. I'm sure I can make a line.
makes a hell of a time trying to mow it.
Excuse me?
Second.
So it makes a hell of a time trying to mow it.
Yeah. Was there a motion? Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Yeah, I got a motion, a second. No discussion.